There's a
Now
couple.
you have a role. I don't even know what channel I'm supposed to be in for role for texting here.
Oh yeah, you'll need a couple of things. I posted in Adventures in the Vale, and I tagged you there. Um,
All right, that's where I'm at now. Adventures in the Vale. Let me scroll all the way down. All right, Mythic Mountains RPG, Adventures in the Vale, Golden Hills. That's what I see.
so the channel above that, that's the results channel. The channel above that is Adventures in the Vale, just Adventures in the Vale, and there's a Roll20 link, and that's where we can
Oh, all right.
do, or if you prefer, there's also a PDF fillable character sheet. The main goal for tonight, there's like three goals. The main goal for tonight is to make characters in a system that none of us have played or ran before. Correct me if I'm wrong. The way I wanted to try to do it, I always experiment with like one thing. And I have to admit, every time I run a game, I'm always like, I'm going to change just this variable and see what happens. It's one thing I do. So, something I want to try is like a modern style session zero, which I have to admit to you all, I've never actually done. I've never actually had a session zero where we talk about gameplay expectations and say, what are we doing? And then make characters together. So that's the whole goal for tonight. Why do I want to do that? Two reasons. The main reason is this is what I want your all's help with is actually as playtesters in a zine that I hope to publish, to self-publish. So to do that, I think it's very important that like we know what we're going into and how we're going to do it. And I'll talk about some of this stuff later, but like the goal is not to focus on this system that none of us are used to. The goal is not necessarily to make like the most awesome character that I'm so invested in that, you know, because there's a thing in here in the rule book. This is a 666 page rule book, and it's all rules. But and we'll get to that in a second. But there's a really cool thing called a dooming, and the idea is that every single character in the Warhammer world has a doom that has set them apart from everyone else, and that's what makes them special and makes them a character in the story. We will not explore your dooming. You'll select one, and maybe we'll play later, and we'll learn more about your character later, but that's not the goal. So the goal is to take this adventure framework, me put it together, and you guys as a group, after you make characters, you decide, all right, how are we going to interact with it? And I got some hooks. You can pick a hook, or you can come up with your own, because I feel like the adventure should be resilient to that. And you'll decide who you are, and you'll have a stated goal that you communicate to me, and we'll release you into that situation and just see what happens. And then when we're done, in like 2 or 3 weeks, I think we should be done, we'll have a session where we get together and we just chat. And you say, you know what, man, it would be so cool if this was in there. Why didn't we do you know, like, and I'm going to write all that down and feed that back into the zine and publish it. So that's the goal. What was I going to say? The music. I'm using the Bard bot. If anybody's not used to the Bard bot, you can right click on him and turn his volume down, or even mute him if you don't like him. The music is Why Do I Still Now Live? And it's very Warhammer. So this is like the feel of the Warhammer world, right? Let's see. I don't expect to do the game tonight. And I want to set expectations that tonight we're just hanging out. You got to take care of your cat. You got to, like, you know, somebody calls, you want to get something to eat. Don't think of this like a game session. It's not. Like, let's just hang out and chill. And the main thing is to get these characters made together and make up a story and get set to run it next time. That's my goal.
Beauty.
Right on. This book is rather large.
And it's
I
not well
got
organized.
I got it on Amazon. It was only $30,
Yeah.
and for a book this size,
It's fallen from grace. It's going through some bad times. The author is in trouble for some stuff. And also, I guess, Warhammer Fantasy 2nd Edition, you can just buy it now. So now it's like, why do I need Zweihander?
Oh,
Okay.
that's what happened with Dark Dungeons. There was the Rule Cyclopedia clone, and then Rule Cyclopedia is available again. So he's like, yeah, well, there you go, and he just
Yeah.
gives the book away for free.
Yeah, that's kind of. I bet they'll end up giving this away for free at some point. But skipping ahead, I don't expect anyone to know any of these rules, and I'll talk about how I like to approach rules for systems that I've never played or ran. 666 pages. It is a retro clone of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Second Edition, which is kind of like the role playing game for like Warhammer, and it's legendary for being super crunchy and having a ton of rules. Don't worry, like we'll go over them.
My version has 669 pages.
I think mine might have actually 700 if you whatever it is if you include the
Well,
index.
no, I'm just looking at the page
Oh,
number.
actually, I've got 669. I don't know why they maybe changed that. I think that might actually be a lowbrow joke, 669. But it's obviously everything in Warhammer is like
I
skulls
think
and prophecies and
666 is the lowbrow joke. They
yeah,
wanted to like get that sinister, but
that's
really it's 669.
so we'll talk about that. But like Warhammer is all about that being dark and gothic and grimdark and everything's occult and creepy and everything. So, anyways, let's see here. Does everybody can everybody see Roll20 and does everybody have access to a character sheet?
Right
Yep.
here, yeah, I got a character sheet up and big red box on top of it.
You can dismiss that big red box by scrolling to the bottom, and in tiny little print it says "Hide the update banner," and it'll get rid of
All
that.
right.
But yeah, so everybody should either have a PDF or you can use Roll20, whichever one you want. The advantage of Roll20 is that you can just click on it, so that's cool. Whatever you want to do. Let's see here. I'll also have Roll20 up to like preview some content and also as a dice rolling mechanic. But you can use offline dice if you prefer. The dice that you're going to need tonight is your D100, your D10, and your D6. That's all. That's the dice for the system. So this is. Oh, go ahead. Did somebody say something? Okay. So our primary goal here is to play test this adventure. So what that means is what I'd like to do as we're doing this is like just throw out and spitball ideas. Like when you get to the profession thing, if you've got like a rat catcher and a tavern keep, and you're both, because those are the kind of professions that you're going to have. How does the rat keeper know the tavern keep or whatever? And just like interrupt me and throw stuff out if you have ideas as that comes up, because we want to create a group concept to work off of that when you go into Dammerung, you have a reason to be here, you have a goal, and then that's how it kind of plays out. This is not intended to explore Warhammer lore or the world or Zweihander culture or the Vale, which is this is set in. It's going to be a mishmash of all kinds of things. It doesn't seek to be faithful to Warhammer or Zweihander or anything. The goal is to push buttons and dials within the adventure framework and see what happens. If it all falls apart, I got a problem. I need to fix it. Or maybe that becomes a feature and not a bug, and then I'm like, actually, yes, that's it. That's way better. That's probably what would happen. So I appreciate your all's help in this. And at the end, like I said, we'll reflect on the stress test of this and see how we want to change it. And I'll change it. So what is Dammerung? What is the adventure? This is a event-based, system-neutral, grim-dark sandbox toolkit with a GM focus, right? So the system is not the purpose of this. I haven't put any thought into the system at all. You're entering this grimdark city, and something is happening. And by day 7, You can influence the outcome, you can change it, you can stop it. But if you did nothing at all, by day 7, something really bad is going to happen. And your story in the context of these 7 days could be a person in that city, a group of people that have a completely separate goal. And they're not even part of that apocalyptic event that's happening. Maybe they're just trying to survive. Maybe they're trying to help someone. Maybe you're there because you have to be and you don't have a choice for some reason. Or you can hop right in and get right in the middle of the events. Because that's my goal for the adventure, is a framework for a GM for an event-based sandbox that says you can plop this down, read it once, and run it. That's my goal. Let's see. Caleb.
That's me.
You're the only person that has been to Dammerung. I will talk about the differences because there are some. But I think you don't need to think of this necessarily as an alternate timeline or an alternate adventure in the Vale. I think that this could be just a different perspective, like we talked about. But more than anything, this is you guys, we decide together by the end of tonight how you want to interact and get involved. Let's see here. Dammerung. So the city is Dammerung. Actually, I'll put the map up. Boom. This is like the map of the Northern Vale of my homebrew setting. It's a city on the coast of this the sea with 2 major rivers and a mountain range, and it is an awful place. And I'm going to kind of reiterate that as we go here, because it's important in terms of how we approach it and how you can play in this. You can't be the hero exactly in the end. I can tell you later kind of how you could be a hero, but everyone's bad. This place is terrible. It's a dark fantasy, and there's a prophecy by wood elves that the local church called the Oracles uses, called the Geritect. And this prophecy, it claims that there's going to be this apocalyptic event unfolding that will test the people of this place, that this devil will come and will put them to the test, and only the faithful will survive. The church, the Oracles is what they're called, they preach that you can stave off this sin of change and corruption if you work hard enough. Like if you work yourself to the bone, you might be saved. But anyone who's lazy is likely to change with this mutation that's taking over the city. And there are these things called Zweihanders, and they're like inquisitors, and it's an inquisitor, but that's also a monster hunter. And they go around and they look for people that use magic or have signs of change, and then they murder them publicly. They have like a public execution then and there if they find anybody. Let's see. Everyone here is starving. The city, the Zweihanders have cracked down so hard and are so tightly controlling the city that it's interfering with trade and commerce. And the people of the city are working so hard that they're literally starving and going mad. This is an awful place, just to be clear, as we go into this. What is Zweihander, or Warhammer Fantasy? This is what's called a retro clone of the 2005 version of the game. Let's see. You are like normal people, like a rat catcher or a crap farmer. What they call it, what's the word for poop? A gong farmer. You're like a gong farmer or a rat catcher or any other random thing. You might be a sheriff or whatever. But then something has happened that has set you apart, and that's going to tie you into events that are happening, and we're going to determine that. And then now
Can I be a criminal?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you all could literally be like burglars, like
I was thinking like a mafioso or a drug dealer or like some kind of like extortionist, like something cruel.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, because you said the lazy they mutate, so I'm going to be a hardworking criminal. You know.
Yeah, and like no one's good. And again, and I'll get to this in a second. Like, how does corruption work? Because everything is tied to the corruption system. But you could be a criminal in a criminal gang, extorting people, doing all that stuff. I think a really good one would be smugglers, like someone who is making
Oh, you
commerce
said
happen.
people are starving. I could be a food smuggler.
Well, that
you know?
so that's what I'm saying is like when you have something that's cracking down on commerce, you have people that it's very lucrative to find ways around that. So yeah, like that's
Well, wait, check this out. This is a fact of American history I only recently learned. You know about in World War II they had rationing cards for things like gas and all that.
yeah.
Uh, there was a huge black market for gasoline. So you could get extra gasoline, and the mafia was big time in black market gasoline. And like it blew my mind, like simple commodities can become black market items like that. You know, just because of either scarcity, rationing, or whatever kind of things. You know,
Yeah, I mean, we still do
but
that. If there's a market demand, then you can make a lot of money. Anyways, yeah, note that down, and we'll come back to that.
all right, back of my head, I'm gonna be a criminal, man.
I,
Because there's honor amongst thieves.
so can everybody see the screen that I brought up?
I'm looking at your map.
No, it's in Discord.
Oh, just
All right, what am I looking at for in Discord?
If you in Discord, if you do, I'm sharing my screen. If you click something like do screen share or something like that, it'll bring it up, and then click on it. So and I'm gonna go down like, and we're gonna make characters. Yeah. I'm talking.
Oh, you're live streaming.
Yeah.
Watch your stream. All right. And it says Zweihander Starter Kit Session 0. Excuse my pronunciation. I'm not wearing my teeth. That's why I'm never on video, because I have to get new teeth. Once I do that, I have good insurance now.
Nice. Glad to hear that.
awesome.
I'm
Zweihander.
This over. Okay. So here we go. Zweihander. This is the symbol of chaos in the Warhammer world. This is really grim. All magic comes basically from hell in Warhammer. But the way it works in Warhammer Fantasy is you have this kind of layer above hell where there's something called the winds of magic, and there are different kinds of winds. And magicians and magic users tap into those winds of chaos and magic.
That's really cool.
And
Question.
Go for
This is the one with the lore. What was the name of the? There's like chaos gods. I think like Nagel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's and so one of our members here is interested in maybe having a cult instead, and that's totally legit. But we'll talk about religion and things here in a second. Let me get this
Blood
going
for the
here.
blood god.
Well,
Right.
I also want to make a little side note. Here's an anecdote about what I know about this game. I know from wargaming. My friends collected miniatures and stuff like that, and I'd be pressing, "Here, play this army so I can play this cool army."
Yeah, that's
Whatever.
what this primary. Yeah, it's a war game. Yeah.
Yeah, and my friend Cliff, he went to seminary school and stuff like that. He was a preacher. He had a little pastoral ship in some small town, and he was like our company, and he invited us over. And in his basement, because he loved to play chaos. So there was this evangelical preacher in a small town, and in his basement, he had all these demon models, and it was just amusing. His own, what's the word I'm looking for? Sardonic way.
Yeah, and
Like,
you know what?
My,
Yeah.
Let me just skip straight ahead to that and talk about it. Let me talk about morality, comfort, and like, what are we comfortable with? Because there are things I'm not comfortable with, and so let's talk about it. This is session 0 stuff, modern session 0 stuff. Let me zoom to that. Actually, I'm gonna zoom past this, and we'll go back. Corruption and safety. Let me find it here. In the Warhammer world, it's grimdark, but I've heard it said that Warhammer cannot be called grimdark because you still have heroes. You still have people trying to do the right thing. And so long as that's the case, it's not grimdark. So in Warhammer, it's Lovecraftian. All of reality sits on this endless abyss of uncaring, thirsting, evil gods that look at us like insects, and they only want to eat us. They don't care. They don't care about us at all. And what happens is every human being has a will, and you can see this on your character sheet. You can see right here. Corruption tracker, and on one side you have order and on one side you have chaos, right? And the way it works is that these demons from the abyss constantly try to leak through into reality, and they try to pull you into chaos, like your character, and this will happen in the game. And what you're going to have as a person is something that's a vice and something that's a virtue, and it's going to be something unique to you, like maybe you really care about the downtrodden and you want to make a difference, but you're a crippling alcoholic, and or something like that, whatever it is. And the chaos gods, the demons, will constantly make that worse and worse and worse, like your alcoholism. And so why would you ever... Huh?
Oh, that reminds me of Mage the Awakening. Like, first edition, it was the classical 7 virtues and 7 vices, and then second edition is like exactly what you're saying. You like this one good thing, but you have this one bad thing.
Yeah. And so to me, I wanted to establish a baseline here, because some people get into this. Some people I want a story about everything just being awful. And I have to admit, I am not interested in that story. And Warhammer, what I get out of Warhammer is this, that as everything is crap around you, and as that character has whatever that flaw is, maybe they're violent. Maybe they actually really like the fact that they can kill people, and it makes them feel good. But then what is it that's really good about them? Maybe they know that's wrong, and they do want to change. So this willingness or something, whatever, I don't know what it is. However bad that gets, the thing that makes grim darkness cathartic and heroic is that it's almost like that little virtue, when it's acted on, is like a wow. Like in any normal story, you wouldn't even care. But in something like this, your character, when they're able to act on that virtue and become heroic, it's really inspiring that someone in this situation can do, like, I will be a candle, if nothing else. I can't do anything more, but I will be a candle in this darkness. That's what I like about Warhammer. But the corruption system, I'm gonna fudge it, because I don't want to figure. There's this whole system that you roll chaos dice, and as things get worse, your vice gets worse and worse, and you slide further into it. Or if you do good things, you can work on your virtue, and it grows and grows, and you have this sense of the human will standing against this infinite darkness. That's the catharsis. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and if I could help with what I'm thinking that you're trying to get at, like, if we're role playing, we can talk about our virtues and stuff like that, but when we start to get into our vices, I think that you would prefer if we were suggestive and fade to black, and we can use our imaginations about some of the darker stuff. You don't need me to give you a blow by blow. I'm going to torture him this way for this many minutes, and that, whatever.
Safety. Okay. So thank you. Yeah, safety. So here are the lines. Like, this is we aren't doing this. And And we can add some lines if you all want them. Here's my lines. No sexual content. None whatsoever. No romantic or sexual content. It's not a romantic story. You will not even see like heteronormative romance where you have just none. There won't be any at all, because we're not exploring. That can become very unsafe. So in order to enable a romantic story, we would have to build a whole safety system to be able to do that. And we're not doing that because it's about playtesting and adventure. So just no romance, none at all. No kids are going to be hurt. None. No kids being tortured or hurt or killed. You'll be like, where are all the kids? The kids are mysteriously absent from the street. And I suppose in some sense you might say the kids are behind a veil, because there are kids there. There are kids in Dammerung, right? Where are they? And they're probably suffering. So that's just going to be behind a veil, and we're not going to look at that. Is there anything, do you all want hard torture to be like, don't describe
I'm a
gore?
PG-13 gamer. I mean, I swear a lot. Not.
I just want to note that this is really this.
Okay,
place is
well,
bad.
I mean, I can play with rated R. My bits of it, I'm just saying that I don't mean to swear a lot, but I do swear a lot because that's just my culture. So I apologize ahead of time for that. That's just going to be like bleep, 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 bleep. And I'm also, I have a sharp wit, and I don't realize how mean I am sometimes. So beware of that.
Okay, so let's look at. That's fine. I swear sometimes I don't mean to, and if anybody bothers anybody, please let me know.
But I don't think there's anything that you guys will be into that's going to bother me.
Let me bring
it's
up
more
some
like
things.
I worry about bothering you guys.
I appreciate that. On the opposite end, let me bring up some things that this setting has implied in it and will be here because it's part of the adventure. Every kind of supernatural thing to its nth degree and the worst. Like demons that are like tormenting people and dragging them into like never-ending and eternal torment. This place is not fair. There are people that are being mutated, and the oracles would say that's because of their sin. And our modern look at that would be like, that's not fair. They didn't do anything to deserve this. And they're still going to mutate whether you think that's fair or not. So this is a horrible place. It is extremely violent. And I intend to have gory depictions of violence because the system kind of has that. So these are the combat actions, and some of them will be like, you can sunder their weapon or like a chokehold, and I'm going to describe you like them gurgling as you rip their throat out and they don't have any air, and like it's going to be, so that's kind of what the system is known for, is this like the genre tone is mud, blood, and piss. Like it's awful. So like you don't want to get in combat, but you probably will have to because the world is bad. What do you all think about that? Oh, and people in really bad circumstances, and no one's off limits. There's not like, so if people have disabilities, people that have, except children. I'm not going to do children, but like older people, people from every walk of life. The awfulness applies to all.
I would say that I'm not a particular fan of gore and its various subsets, but like as a safety matter, I'm fine. It'll
Okay.
I'm a big boy, I'll live. But yeah, it's not. I would not derive pleasure from such depictions.
Okay.
I find anything like gratuitous violence, like inflicted upon somebody. I prefer, because sometimes it's got that element to the story, but I prefer just kind of like the insinuation of it rather than a full depiction. Whereas in combat or something like that, a good or the usual over-the-top description, that's okay for me. I think just like in a story, almost like the the dramatic side, more subtlety, theatrical or cutscene.
It is all fascinating because I was about to comment how I myself actually more comfortable with the romantic stuff than the gurgling blood stuff, but then
That's
my
healthy.
threshold is
That's
like
good.
still way
It's
more like these guys are like way more threshold than me. I'm like, well, if you're gonna do blood gurgling, at least make it cool. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still not gonna bother me.
What do you think,
But
Denise?
Basically, they're saying, do the Skyrim cutscenes where, like, when you do the final attack in Skyrim,
okay, here's a good
it slows
example.
down and, like, you see it happen.
No, a brilliant writer, George Martin. The screenplays that he wrote for Game of Thrones, he wrote like one screenplay a season for the first couple of seasons, and he wrote the screenplay for the one where Theon Greyjoy gets his junk cut. Right? You never see it. It's a blur, so it's just more horrific in the mind because like it's this thing and blur. You know what I mean? And it
Okay.
made it even scarier.
So I want to make sure I understand. This is really good to know. There will be all sorts of awful stuff, but you guys want that to be behind a veil. You want it to like don't describe it and narrate it, but note like you see a bunch of stuff on a galley, you hear the tightening of ropes, and you no longer hear voices.
Yeah,
What happened to them?
that's got a disconcerting
them?
subtlety to
Well,
it.
I can handle a little darker than that. I'm just saying, like, don't make a fetish out of the gore. Like
This
a
is a
Freddy
good
Krueger thing.
conversation because Zweihander makes a fetish out of the gore. This is what this is. This is what
Right,
this
right,
is.
right. Yeah, I don't mind the violence. I love Conan the Barbarian and all that. I mean,
Good.
yeah, there is a fetishized gore, and that's kind of one of the problems with Lamentations as a Flame Princess is the fans are
Yeah.
horrible like that.
Yeah, it's like French art. I get it. Yeah, and I get that too. Like, and actually, I think that's wonderful. I agree that depictions of sexual content should be healthier than the celebration of violence. Neither really, but like if we were going to pick, and it's true. Like we celebrate violence. So this is a violent world and violent game. So we're going to put it behind a veil. Does that sound right, Denise? Like you're saying like in a cutscene, it kind of pans to the slow mo. You hear a slicing noise, but then it pans out, and all of a sudden you're back to your character, and a body falls. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was basing from what I was hearing from everybody else. So,
Okay. Yeah. All right.
because
cool.
I think the general rules that you had initially, the kids not being hurt, the romance thing, those are ones I always back up. Just because I've seen what happens with the romance part, and then I don't want to see kids hurt. So
I've seen both of those, and I've seen it ruin a game.
yeah.
Okay, PG-13 combat R behind a veil. It would be hard to tell this story if the R couldn't go somewhere, because this is an awful.
I can handle like Quentin Tarantino R, but you're talking like Italian horror movie R, like almost rated X score.
Okay,
I think my
Like Rob
personal line
Zombie.
is
so
when you start describing internal organs, I'm like, all right, peace out.
I was okay.
But
So
otherwise, I'm all good.
the
You
combat.
split his head open is cool, but like you split his head open and yada 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 yada.
can do
for
that.
10
Narrating the
paragraphs.
Because I've
brain,
seen
and
it,
I'm like,
so I can,
all right.
I can do that right now. Like I can be like, here's what this would look like with the skull and the brain. Yeah, I can do that. But okay, so we're not doing that. But let's go back to internal organs for a second because this is important, and let's talk about the occult. So no one is uncomfortable with things like demons and angels and even the Lovecraftian sense of this is not our universe. This is not a universe where most people either have a non-supernatural view of ontology or an ontological view where there's some sort of underlying hope. This is a universe where there is no underlying hope, where the framework, the ontology of reality is one of caprice and horror. That I cannot take out of the system. That is part of it.
You can and he rips his still beating heart out and speaks, yeah, blah, 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 blah. You know, that's fine. But,
Arima.
you know,
Okay.
but like they're all dancing with a maypole made out of intestines. You know, that's bad. You know,
So I was gonna. So let me just jump in that direction for a second. And when you have like a chaos cult, they would totally be doing that. They'd be like, "That we've done this ritual, and we've literally made Inside Out Man, and that's his life now, and he's screaming, please kill me." Like that's like chaos cult stuff, right? So like, what's the line?
well, the way you just described that Inside Out, man, that's not
yeah.
so bad. I can picture it. You know, I remember The Simpsons with
But
the
you
fog.
don't
That
want
turned
me
people
to say
inside out.
that as you in the darkness, you can hear a moaning, a pleading, moaning noise, as if someone had been screaming too long and had only moans left. As you approach the chanting and the flickering torchlight, you then see an eyeball with its veins not tucked behind skin, but instead throbbing along.
I feel like I'm learning a lot about Ross today.
It's dark. This is
It
dark.
sounds a little
Actually, an excellent description.
here's
I like that.
I know, like
Here's a
that's
trick.
good descriptions.
But
For me,
I was going to go down, and we're going like to
I'm
the heart,
worried
which
that you're
is-
not like coming up with that you're recounting a memory. You're like, I've seen this before.
putting a little camp in it though makes it a little easier to handle. Like that
You don't
see
have to
inside.
handle it. You don't have to.
No,
Handle
I like
It's-
Inside Out Man.
This is
because
why
it's
we're
kinda
having
funny.
this conversation. This is cool because in this system, the world is so awful that it much more necessitates this conversation. You don't have to have this conversation about the Forgotten Realms. I don't necessarily. If you do, then you do. But anyways, okay. So like, is Inside Out Man, does he need to be physically described? And I'm prone to, because this is horror. It's a dark fantasy, right? So I'm
I don't care if you do, but I don't think you need to. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm fine either way.
I'm
I
ambivalent.
can handle it. Like, it's not a safety thing for me.
That's good. That's what I'm asking, I suppose.
But like, as a preference thing, I don't derive sexual satisfaction from gore. But like, as a safety thing, I'm fine with all this.
Okay, so I think I have an idea. PG-13, R behind a veil, no safety concerns about like really dark, chaotic stuff that's happening. We'll talk about our intentions, because I have some of my own, like where I'm less prone to be like a chaos cult, because the difference between chaos and order is neither is a good guy. No one's a good guy here. But someone from order has a virtue. And they're like, I'm going to hold on to it while I die. And it makes the virtue seem bright in the darkness. That's like that's what I get out of Warhammer. So a chaos person is like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. And I'm gonna like hedonistically exult in it. And it's a little gross for me. I don't know. But
Well, there you go. What if that virtue he's holding on to is actually a bad thing? He thinks it's a virtue because I'm still with the whatever, you know, the guy just going for it. At least he's got will. That's a virtue, isn't it? Not.
Before we continue too much, if you could scroll back up on your thing to the back down to the orders and the chaoses and the
corruption
and the
safety.
Yeah, well, more importantly, I just wanted to draw attention to the demon
art,
ducklings.
the demon fish duckling bird people.
Yeah,
that
I
are
just wanted to
leaking
like
forth from the realms of chaos.
I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate Poopy the duckling coming back for you. Here.
You're good. You're getting it. That's good. Use my childhood against me. Yes. You're good. Okay.
We're back.
That hurts my heart. It worked. Ouch. Poopy,
Sad
no.
now.
It's hot in this room. Let me see here. Group of... oh, yeah. Let's just... Oh, whoops. That's not where I want to be. Session 0. I'm going to like kind of scan through so you get kind of a taste. This is the winds of chaos, and floating above the realm of hell as demons try to find an avenue into reality. This is like maybe a group of heroes who have liberated a village, and like they're dealing with their vices. This one's like breaking down. This one's like, actually, I think I might like this. This one's like, what did I do? You know, this is kind of what this world is about. Let me see here. What else we got here? And we're going to make characters. This is a cooperative storytelling game. So for all of us who have mostly been playing Dungeons and Dragons for a while now, or an older version of D&D, this is, for me, a kind of going back. Because I started with story games. I didn't start with dungeon crawls. This is not a mechanically oriented game. This is about a story. So, just so you know. No one's a good guy. Some struggle with their sin like a candle in the dark. That's the difference. Otherwise, no one's good. The world's unfair. The upright perish. The unjust linger. Society stands on both an existential and literal collapse at all times. But order just barely tends to prevail. Something you need to know about this world. Superstition and stratification. Okay? Superstition and... I don't even want to call it religion. I would call it superstition or magical thinking. Penetrates every aspect of society. If you show signs of magic, people are going to hunt you down and scream and like, we must kill him now. And you can't blame them exactly, because when demons start to like mutate people and like explode them from the inside out, alien style, all of a sudden you're like, we need to maybe not have the magic thing here. And so magic's not welcome, but also not free thinking. So that's important, because if you are a free thinking person, you are a person of chaos. And law versus chaos, Mark, is not your version from D&D. Law versus chaos here is Lovecraftian. Chaos is Lovecraft monsters. Order are the jerks that just try barely to stop it. And they're still not good people.
Law neutrality is the only morality, man. Because law is fascism, man.
There's no gray Jedi here. Everybody's either order or chaos. That's it. And you're always going one toward the other. One or the other. You're never staying...
No, man, it's fascists versus freedom fighters, man.
What was I going to say? Well, anyways, if you choose order, if you're the good guys, which are not good guys...
no, they're fascists. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's fascists versus freedom fighters.
So the freedom fighters also would just love for everyone to be tormented to death by demons. So there's not a good choice.
Torment. There you go.
But
it's the price you have to pay for freedom, my man.
In case order looks attractive, this is what I want to note. Like, if you want to be the knight that's like you had mentioned in the original campaign, Caleb, like a group of people that like, no, we got to burn this place down. It's too late for this place.
This entire city must be purged.
So guess where that came from? Guess what that's a reference to? That is a reference to Warhammer, my friend, which is what WoW was ripped off of anyway. But that purge this city, purge the unclean, that's from Warhammer. And to be in order is to look at what's happening and say, we have to like put this city to the torch. Like, we can't. These people that are mutated, you could have the attitude that they didn't deserve it, but it's too late. They're mutated now, and like, so it's really awful. Again, with the awfulness, but
yeah, it sure smells like heresy.
Freedom has a price, man.
When you choose, I just want to note that there's not some knight in shining armor that doesn't come with the consequence of like, no, but for reals, we actually can't allow this to get out of the city, because like, no one will survive if we don't, like it's awful. Anyways, stratification. There are aspects of this that are not like the medieval world, okay? Men and women roughly equal, not always, but can you be a female magistrate or a female demon hunter? Absolutely, no problem. But class is brutal. If you're a poor person, you had better act like you're in your place, or they will throw you in jail or kill you. And it's very strictly stratified. And in fact, Dammerung itself has 3 classes that they literally put you in and give you a certification. Like, you're a poor person, you're a merchant, you're a noble. And if you dress outside of your class, they will throw you in jail. So, sumptuary laws. Combat. Okay, so it's low fantasy. This is a low fantasy world. You're gonna have to deal with the world using your equipment and your wits and stuff like that. You don't have spells. Some of you might, and you can choose to have spells. But if they find out, that's always a thing. When you are in combat in Zweihander, a single strike might take us an hour, or not an hour, it might take us a minute and a half just to set up the dice roll for it. But once you figure it all out and decide it, you might lob someone's head off, and that's it. And it might be a high-level enemy. When you cast a spell, it could turn the tide of a whole war in your favor, or you could open a rift to the abyss and swallow the whole city whole. You have no idea. If some of you played Dungeon Crawl Classics, the magic system, this is where they've taken it from. It's from Warhammer.
Oh.
So, kill your dooming, blah, blah, blah. Safety tools, we already talked about it. We already talked about the dice. Okay, core rule mechanic. This is the bottom line on rules, okay? 666 pages of rules. I plan to use almost none of them. This is not about playing or testing Zweihander. So the way I like to do things is I'm not a rules guy. So instead of having all the rules and trying to frame things in a game, I have a few rules and I say, what will help make this seem real? And I'll just use them. Very Gygaxian. And rulings instead of rules. And I like to do that in D&D. I'm absolutely doing it here with all of this. So what can you expect to see? The major core rule mechanic, like in Dungeons & Dragons, you roll a d20, you add a number. In this game, you roll a d100 to get under. It's a roll under system. So if you have a 55 in combat, you roll a d100, you won a 54. If you have a skill that gives you a bonus, you subtract it to make it go further down. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's the game.
That makes complete sense. It's a percentage system. If I have a 55% chance, of course I want to roll 55 or less.
It's a percentage system with a roll under, and that's the game. And I don't actually want to make it very much more complicated than that. I will note a couple of things right now, and otherwise, if you're super into the rules, you can totally get into it, and you can say, well, actually, it works this way, and I'll be like, okay, cool, do that. And I'm not going to care. But I'm probably not going to know all the rules. Advantage. It has an advantage system like 5th edition. You roll your D100, and when you roll a D100, you take the first number, like 5, and the second number, like a 9, and that forms 59, right? Well, if you have disadvantage, you're going to flip it to fail. And now all of a sudden, you take the lowest of whichever two. So between 59 and 95, 95 would fail. Because you're trying to roll under, right? Otherwise, you can flip to succeed. So you roll, and you got 59, so that's 59 or 95. Well, the lower one's 59, so you get 59. Does that advantage, disadvantage make sense?
Yeah.
Like that.
You can flip it to fail or flip to succeed. I'm not even going to go over this other stuff. I don't think it's worth talking about. Fortune points. Every time we start a game, I'm going to have a collection of coins. There's going to be 5 of them. And this, you can basically intervene and say, I want to use a fortune point. And it's a group resource. And you can cause a skill to succeed. And I don't care, we'll make it up. Like, hey, can I use a fortune point? It's like inspiration in 5th edition, right? But one of the huge things that you can do with a fortune point is in combat. In combat, you don't have hit points. You have how far did I go in my damage. And if you go far enough into damage, then you can instantly kill something. No matter how bad of a thing it is, you can kill it instantly. Well, every time you roll a 6, so you roll a d6 plus combat or something, it doesn't matter. But you roll for damage, and let's say you get a 6. Then you get to roll it again. Roll a 6, you roll again. It's exploding dice, right? A fortune point, you can instantly make it a 6. So just so you know, that's like a huge thing. If you get caught in combat, you can be like, I want my damage to be a 6. Now you basically get double damage. You get an instant crit. Every time you use a fortune point or fortune token, it becomes mine. And now I get to use it and get to put it back. So it goes back and forth.
Cool.
Okay, let's make characters. Everybody can roll a D100. Wait, actually, how do you guys want to do this? Do you want to like pick, or do you want your character to be born? Or do you want to pick which one you want?
I'm happy with rolling for myself.
Yeah, I have no idea of what to even pick. That's the beauty of rolling randomly.
All right, so
You
you
can
guys
learn
can roll
by
a
doing.
D100.
Do we need to also roll the D10?
No, it's just it's a D100. But
You're
I should know.
for barber surgeon.
I don't. Barber surgeon is wild. I love that one, but it's basically like a surgeon. Like you don't have any kind of certificate. Like you're just some guy, and you use leeches, and you cut people to bleed them to release their humors. That's barber surgeon. You probably already knew that. I'm enthusiastic about it.
I literally didn't know that. I assumed it was a very fancy barber.
It is in a way. Okay, so Mark.
Yeah, back in the Middle Ages, barbers did bloodletting.
Mark, dude,
Huh?
you are a
What?
wizard. You are an etherealist.
A what?
Etherealist. You are a wizard.
Where do I put that?
You put that in your profession block. Let me find it. Where it says
Imperialist?
profession. Etherealist, like ether, like aether, like that incorrect view of space where they thought there was an ether, and that's where you pull the winds of magic from. Is from the ether. Etherealist.
It's not entirely incorrect. It's just the understanding of it's incorrect.
Caleb,
bad because it takes time.
got a bravo, which is like a bard,
Interesting.
like someone who performed, like a bard, basically. What did you guys get?
But investigator.
Oh man, okay, cool. I would be interested to see how these people how do they know each other? A sellsword. You're a mercenary. Cool. Okay, now Mark, you have to roll on what spells you have, and I have a question for you. Do you guys want to start at a higher level? Now, the dial on starting at what level you want is the higher the level, the higher how much involved in the politics you are. So if you start at level 1, your story might be a simple story about helping people and surviving as this stuff is happening. If you start at level 5, it might be you're in the middle of the battle and you're a commander and you're the one that actually has to make something happen. So that's the difference in what would you all prefer to do? And I'm basically going to add bonuses. Like if you're a higher level, you'll get a higher bonus on things.
What fits better in the story you're building?
I like that,
What would you like
you could
to
do
test?
anything. Like you could be at a higher level, and now it's up to you to save the whole city. But if you're at a lower, if you want, or destroy it, if you're into that, or at a lower level, it's hey, we see these people are suffering. I want to try to help. Well, I'll skip ahead to one of the hooks. A mutant underground is one potential hook where it's like, we're going to try to smuggle these people out of the city. I don't know what's happening to them, but I don't want them to die. And so that's like a lower level thing, right? Because you're not going to be able to come up against the city. You're just trying to sneak and get by versus kill all the mutants, purge the unclean. Like, okay, now you're at like a higher level, And that's going to determine how many spells Mark gets right now.
The lower does
This
sound.
is again? What page is Etherealist on? I want to know what I became.
I don't know, but we got to roll for your. Let's start with a lower level and massage it out later. So, Mark, you would roll a D100 3 times.
Before we move on too much, would you mind? I realize this is a very silly thing to say. Would you mind if I took barber surgeon?
Yeah, totally. Take barber surgeon. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just very entertaining to me.
I think when I rolled my real dice, I ended up with Bravo, and I was like, wait, there's already somebody with Bravo, so I wanted to roll something else.
Do you want to be a Bravo?
No, I rolled on my
Yeah.
actual dice a Bravo, but I was like, I want to do something else since there was already someone with a Bravo.
You can take my destiny if you want.
I don't have
Nah,
a Perilous.
I'm good with the Celsor.
So we're just gonna roll through D100 3 times.
Hey, there we go.
Three. So you got the Aegis, which is like magic shield. You got 79, which is shut eye, which is like sleep, and you got 28, which is hasten speed, which is like haste. Pretty cool.
Where do I write these?
I think that you go down to the back and you have to go to. Good question. I don't know. I'll make a note of it somewhere.
Magic and Rituals tab. No, that doesn't.
Okay. So.
Oh
wait. I'm sorry. It has. You can remove one of those of your choice and roll another D100 because you get a bonus spell unique to Etherealists.
I don't even know what those. I'm gonna have you repeat them once I find out where I'm supposed to record them.
Oh, just note it down somewhere. That's what I was saying. Like don't worry about it. But it's hasten speed, Aegis, and shut eye, and you can remove one of them and roll another D100.
Right. Ace. Yes. And yeah, I don't know. Shut eye sounds like a fancy sleep, so screw that.
Okay, and then you have hasten speed. That's the other one. 27. You get 27. It says conjure elementalism. Is a specific to an etherealist. Okay, and then let's see. Oh, is anybody a generalist? No. Custodian, demiurge. Oh, picking a god. A chosen is a religious person. That's what it is.
They're like the cleric, I guess.
Right.
Cleric, warlock.
All right. Let's see. Skill ranks. I'll get these later, but actually it has it here. The Etherealist has a plus 5% to willpower. What do you got here? Barber Surgeon has a plus 5 to intelligence. The Sellsword plus 5% to combat. And then what were you, Steve? You were
an investigator.
Investigator, so you got a plus 5% to perception. When it says plus 5%, you can expect to subtract that. That's a skill bonus that applies to that whole attribute.
Okay, question. Under willpower, I see a circle, a big box, and a small box, and a radio button.
So basically, just for now, what you'll do, we're going to fill these in a second, but we're noting the percentage bonus. Every class has.
Right.
So like
which of these things do I put that bonus in?
You put it in the big one, and you just start with like a 5, and then we're going to raise that number up, whatever your bonus is.
I accidentally clicked this radio button. How do I unclick it?
I don't know. If you're talking about the radio button.
Radio, okay, there's a check mark under willpower. No, because I clicked the circle underneath it. I can't unclick it unless I click something else.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what that radio button does.
That is your primary stat.
Oh.
I don't know what that means, but that's what the hover over means.
So it should automatically give you your primary attribute bonus, I bet, but I don't know. Anyways, moving on, you also get blah 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 skill ranks. Skill rank. Each of your each of you will have skill bonuses unique to your profession, and we'll get to those later. Primary attributes, you roll 2d10 and add 35. So for all of your attributes, you roll 2d10 and add 35 to it. Yep.
The attributes are there?
There are agility, brawn, combat, fellowship, intelligence, perception, and willpower.
Okay, and we add plus 35.
Yeah, 2d10 plus 35.
One more.
And then we add that plus 5 to whatever our...
Right, to your primary attribute. That's right.
Ooh,
Well, the 35 is only for the...
on combat.
What is your combat?
60. Because I rolled 2 10s. And then
Oh,
I had
good.
plus 5
Okay, so
for
that's
the
awesome for
sword.
level 1. And you're a sellsword.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we know who's up front.
The plus 35 was only for one of those?
No, for all of them. So 2d10
Okay.
plus 35 for all of them. And then your primary attribute, another 5 on top of it.
Okay, perfect. Are these distributed as we like, or is it in order?
Well, that's a good question. Let me see. 35, I mean... It says record the results in order.
Okay.
Now that's the what they call the grim and perilous method, which I feel like is appropriate for this game. But I will note that if you get like a really crappy stat in your prime one, maybe switch that with your best one if you want. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Although it is hilarious to imagine that Caleb is like a barber surgeon, but then he's actually got a 35 in intelligence or something. And he's just like, yes, I'll help you. And then he's just like cutting people. That's really awful. Oh, but it fits the setting.
Joke's on you. I got basically the same roll on every one.
It's like that
Well, I
movie
got
with
pretty average.
Johnny Depp in it.
That's what I've been thinking.
What, Sweeney Todd or something?
Yeah, that's right. It's really hot in this room. I wish it weren't. Let me know when you guys are done.
Okay, I'm set.
Okay, set.
I'll swap int and brawn there.
Oh, I can swap any two of these things?
I'm just thinking if you get a really crappy one in your primary attribute, you could switch it with your strongest one, you know?
Well, alright.
Like,
Let me know.
You don't want to be an etherealist with low intelligence, because everyone's just going to die like if that happens.
Well, see, this is what I wound up with, okay? I got Combat 51, Brawn 39, Agility 47, Perception 46, Intelligence 50, Willpower 58, and Fellowship 43. Are those good scores? Bad? Medium? What?
They're all good actually for level 1, but if you want to swap the highest one with intelligence. Wait, no, it's not intelligence for an etherealist, is it? What is it for an
Isn't it
etherealist?
willpower?
It's willpower.
Yeah,
that's right.
Willpower is already the highest. Because
Okay.
it was it's 53 plus the 5, so it's 58.
Nice. All right, sounds good. Would you, Caleb, be
Second
done?
highest is is combat though? That seems weird.
How's your barber surgeon?
My barber surgeon's pretty all right. I got a 53 on intelligence,
Okay.
and everything else is in the 40s.
Sounds good. All right, everybody roll a D100 to determine how your upbringing, how your parents were.
My parents were 65.
You got a 65. Your parents are opportunistic. You were raised to rely on yourself, and you had to be underhanded to get what you want. You've learned
Hell
most
yeah.
folks are nothing more than an angle or a walking coin purse. You've learned to understand others' intentions, and you've also learned to scrutinize truth from lies. So you get
Where
a plus
would
5 to perception.
Oh, cool. Do I jot that down anywhere? Or?
Yeah, you add another plus 5 to your perception stat.
All right.
71.
71, you're reverent. You were raised with a healthy respect for the gods' capricious ways. Rituals and prayer were a part of your life, and you were taught by a priest how to read, so you can also read. You might have been an orphan who listened to the doomsayers on street corners. Either way, that dogma has taught you to be strong of heart. And why don't we pick a god for you then, if that's the case? Or you can do all of them. The custodian, the demiurge, crouching one, the god emperor is kind of like the Warhammer, human god typically. I don't know if you can see those.
Yeah, I was looking and I saw one I think would kind of work with the things I've rolled. Because I actually rolled pretty high on fellowship.
Oh, nice.
Like I rolled a 50, or like in total 50 on fellowship. So I want to say, what was it? The Winter King?
The Winter King. Oh, cool. You pay homage by standing by your oaths. You show deep respect to those who shed their blood beside you as they become one of your pack, and you wear pelts of beasts that you've slain. That's wild. You consider your friends your pack, and you'll defend them to your death. That's wild. So
Which kind of makes sense with like a spell sword who probably is pretty much a mercenary who doesn't really
right
work that often with people, but
Yeah.
when they do,
yeah, it's
So.
like you see them as like your responsibility. Yeah. Mark, what'd you get?
72.
You also got reverent. Would you like to pick a god, or do you go?
I'd like to swap with the guy that got the selfish parents.
You want to do?
Too bad they're my parents.
You want to do opportunistic?
Yeah.
Okay, so you get a plus 5 to perception. Yeah. Oh, and you get reverent. You get plus 5 to willpower. Yeah. Well, Steve, what'd you get?
I got a 70, which works really nice.
Opportunistic. Yeah, another one. Yeah, it's another plus 5 to perception. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's see here.
Thought they were my parents, but it turns out they were our parents.
Sometimes the game will refer to your attribute bonus. Don't worry about it. There's no reason to deep dive into that.
Wait, what bonuses do I get from opportunistic parents?
Why am I
5
frozen?
to perception.
Testing. Am I frozen?
Well, no, I thought you said a second thing for my willpower, too.
No, that's reverent.
opportunistic was plus 5 to perception.
Okay, and it's the reverent that's plus 5 to willpower.
Yes.
Alright, I'd rather go lateral, so I get better perception.
Okay. No problem. I'm going to disconnect and reconnect. Can you all see me?
Yes.
You're reloading on my end.
Let me reconnect here. How about now?
Ross, it's not the audio quality, it's my memory. I literally forgot what you said.
No, I was having trouble with my audio, my video. Anyways, don't worry about the attribute bonuses. When that comes up, I'll explain it simple. Secondary attributes. This is important. You have 2 that matter. You basically have 2. They're not hit point / armor classes. It's kind of like an armor class, but it's a more like a damage threshold for systems that have that. One is how much mental damage can you take, which is your peril.
Hmm.
And then the other one is your physical one. So your peril threshold, you start out unhindered, so that doesn't matter. And you need to determine your peril threshold. It's 3 plus the first digit of your willpower. Whatever that is.
Okay. Do we put that somewhere?
Yeah,
Oh,
that
under,
should. Yeah,
under peril threshold.
that's right.
Looks like it already
Oh, we put
fills
it
in
the,
for me.
the big circle.
Yeah, like so I have the PDF here, so it'd be 3 plus my willpower bonus, which is the first digit. So if my willpower were 45, it would be 4 plus 3 is 7. You know,
Okay.
like that. And I'll share my screen again so y'all can see what I'm doing here. Is it this one? Yeah, it's that one. Okay, so like, you know, I have, yeah, like 45, so it's 4 plus 3 is 7. It goes in the peril threshold block. You start out unhindered, so you don't have any condition track stuff. And then, whoops, we need to determine your all's initiative, which is 3 plus perception bonus. Yes. Initiative is, where's it at? Initiative. If it's on mark sheet, as an example, where's the initiative? I can't find it. I can't bloody well find it. I don't know. Maybe can you? If you got, can you find it? Or I don't know what sheet you're using, but if you can't, let's just mark it down.
It's on the second sheet.
Oh,
Or there's one. Okay, closer to the bottom, just above talents and traits.
oh, like that. Oh yeah, initiative. Yeah. So it's 3 plus your first digit of your perception, and then your movement is 3 plus the first digit of agility.
All right, so mine seems to have filled that out automatically.
Cool. Awesome. Nice
Where
thing
did
about
someone say
Roll20.
initiative was? I was totally paying attention.
What's that? Oh, Steve was saying it's on the second page of talents and trappings.
Oh, these are pages. What do you know? Yep, that's all filled out. Hey, Ross, I hate to take you away from this, but it appears there's a turf war going on in scheduling. Jesse is confused about what's going on in the crawlers thing.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's see. Encumbrance, we already got. Encumbrance is 3 plus brawn. First digit of brawn. Your damage threshold is important. So everybody starts out unharmed. And it should be 3 plus brawn, I think. Let me find it. Brawn plus... Oh, no, you don't get a bonus. So we'll talk about this in a minute. And I don't see anything in here that says what to do about equipment. I don't see any rules for how to start it. So we're just going to make it up and pick what we want. And my thing is, if it makes sense, you can have it. So, Denise, if you want to have armor, you should totally have armor because it will save your life in this game. If you want to wear like a Spanish conquistador cuirass, like that would be appropriate for the time period. We can look it up, but your damage threshold is going to be brawn bonus, which is the first digit of brawn, plus your armor. Would anyone else have armor? I don't think so. The city's going to make you take it
They
off.
have a +5 cloak of protection.
Right, the wizard. The wizard, oh no.
I don't see anything on this PDF that talks about any sort of weapons or armor, so...
I will give you options for armor right now from the rule book, if you want.
Okay.
I don't think anyone else would have armor, so I think it would just be you. And some armor options would be
Well, it says brigading is starting trappings. It's under the sellsword section, down towards the bottom.
Your class has stuff. Okay, so you guys can copy it from your class thing. Thank you. Thanks for noticing that. Sweet. Okay. Let's see here. So yeah, that's your damage threshold. Fate points. Don't worry about that. Background. Okay, so everybody roll a D100. I hope you get an old lady again, Denise. It's a thing now. But like the grandma who's like wearing a brigandine and carrying a Zweihander.
I'm sorry, I got a 70. Well, I don't know, because I rolled a 70 on my D100 and then a 0 on my D10.
Yeah, so that's 70. So you are middle-aged.
Do you want me to be elderly?
I mean, if you want, it's up to you. I love it. What did you get, Steve?
What did I get? Where's the page? 73.
Okay, you were also middle-aged. What'd you guys get?
I got 18.
25.
18. Okay, wait, no, you're an adult. Oh man, if you had been I wouldn't have went too young. I would have said like 17 or something, but okay, so you're a young adult then, like 18, 19, 20 or whatever. What'd you get, Caleb?
25.
22.
22. Okay. So you are an adult. So you're like in your 20s probably, Caleb. I don't know. And then gender is up to you guys. And then ancestry, I'm going to say, so I actually like this rule. This is a humanocentric universe, and it would be hard to get by if you weren't a human. However, if you really want to not be a human, it basically says they're so rare that you should roll a D100 to figure out what you are, which I like, and I'm down with it. But if like the whole group is non-humans, it's going to be weird. I don't know how. Maybe my adventure needs to be able to account for that. I don't know.
I want to roll a die.
Okay.
That's what happens.
Go for it.
Well, that's not available in session 0.
Alright, now, is this for my gender or my ancestry?
Ancestry.
Alright.
This will determine if you're some sort of alien being that needs to hide its face.
Well, I got 44, and I'm a Perilous, so I don't care.
You're a gnome. A gnome materialist.
No! Oh, man,
Hey, you rolled.
I got it. I'll take it. I'm a gnome.
What'd you get, Denise?
I actually rolled
It could have been an ogre. It would have been so good.
15.
A 15. Oh, an Aslan. The Aslan are lizard people. You're going to need to hide your face. You're a lizard wolf person. You've got a lot going. You're complicated.
Oh boy.
And then roll a D100 for an additional ancestral trait. Oh, everybody else rolled D100 because you also get ancestral traits. But not for a human.
Good. Oh, not for human. Okay.
No. For humans, you'll get one, but it'll be a human
Beauty.
thing. So this will
All right.
Monstrous leap.
Monstrous leap. You can jump horizontally 3 yards plus your brawn bonus, which is the first digit of brawn, or leap vertically 3 yards plus brawn. That's ridiculous. You don't have to charge or run in order to do that. So crazy. You were like a grasshopper lizard wolf pack fighter.
Yeah, but the funny thing is if you read the description, they said you've been raised to address yourself only by your first name in conversation. So totally going the Khajiit route from Elder Scrolls.
Very nice.
Maik.
This one is totally a human.
Khajiit has wares if you have coin.
Wait, do I need to roll 2 or...
You want me to be an old lady, Epsilon? I'll be an old lady.
You're
I'll be
so
an old lady.
complicated at this point. I'm down. Like, it's
I'll
really
be an old lady.
You've
For
made
you.
it this far.
so. Let's go to Gnome. I'm curious to see what he gets. Gnome.
96.
Look at these gnarly gnomes. This is what gnomes look. Look at this dude.
Jeez.
They're so hateful. Look at this girl with her unibrow. It's
Oh, man.
ridiculous.
That is a lot of chest hair for such a small creature.
What'd you get, Mark?
I got a high number, 96.
You're underfoot. So you add a +3 to your initiative value. And then humans. Let's see, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H.
How do I add? I just add +3 to this ace. It's 11, 9, 10. Yeah, all right.
Oh, maybe humans don't get one of these.
Oh, there's a. What page is that? 26.
Page 26, digital page 26.
Digital
Oh, here they
page.
are. Yeah, humans.
Oh, 28.
Wild.
I've come up with the name for the character.
What is it?
Well, it was based upon your expression when you Holmes. I was like, there it was. I am now Gnarls Barkley.
Ross, did
Well,
you see
okay.
the dwarf pictures on page 29?
29. 29.
Well, I guess it's technically
Oh
page
my
30.
god. Gosh. They're so weird.
Home slice in the
Oh,
middle
man.
is struggle bus there.
All right, what
Hey,
did
there's
you...
our Mongolian dwarves that we were talking about the other day.
Yep. What did the humans get? What did you guys get?
42.
42. Grim
Yep,
Resolve. After you suffer damage, you get to spend a fortune point and ignore it.
Which is
That's
baller.
ridiculous.
Wow.
That
It's
can't
great
be
because
right.
I'm like, I can choose to not die, and now statistically, this is a problem for the rest of the party.
So I don't think I don't think you can do that. I think maybe the reason this makes sense.
Ooh,
There's only
Boo.
3 things you can use a fortune point for, and I think in this
Boo.
game, if you get hit, you're probably dying. Like that's one of the things of note. We'll talk about combat here later, but you can do some things like the next time. I don't know. We'll look at it. All right. What'd you get, Steve?
57, I think. Let me look at this again.
Manifest 56. Manifest Destiny. When using a skill you don't possess, add a +5. Basically, you add a +5 to anything that you don't have a skill in. You get like a blanket +5 across the board. Jeez Louise. Okay. Moving on here. Well, there's so many. This one's wild. The Ciabra. They're so creepy. Look at this bird dude here.
those are very cool.
Absolute wackiness. It's just a mask, though. It's not an actual bird dude. Otherwise, I would have said, obviously, you should be a bird dude. But anyways, everybody roll a D100. The last time we played in Dammerung, we found that this actually made a huge difference to have a mixture of lowborn and noble. So
95.
you are an aristocrat.
Hells yeah.
65.
You are a burgher. That is a merchant class.
I rolled a 9.
You are a
Twice.
you are a lowborn
Twice.
trash. You are like you are
It couldn't have been any other way.
super
Of course
lowborn
not.
trash. Yeah.
Ooh.
What did you get, Steve?
I got a, where'd you go? 56.
56. You were also a merchant. This is actually really helpful because, except somehow Lizard Lady is going to have to like hide her appearance. I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to figure it out. Anyways, do you all want to... I tell you what. Make this up or roll this yourself. I don't see anything particularly interesting about complexion and stuff. But I do like the distinguishing mark, which I'll say is optional. So everybody can have one distinguishing mark or none, and it's up to you.
Distinguishing mark.
What is a Glasgow smile?
A Glasgow smile?
Glasgow smiled. Oh, I'm guessing that's probably like kind of like a hockey smile. It's in some front teeth. Because a Glasgow kiss is forehead.
Oh, this is messed up, dude. It's messed up, dude. I will perfectly describe to you what a Glasgow smile is, because this is what it is. It's what happened to the Joker.
Oh, I see it.
Is that not messed up?
Oh, wow.
It's a scar that goes like this.
It's whenever you said distinguishing mark, I was like, well, obviously Joker scars. Well, no, that'd be ridiculous. What's a Glasgow smile?
Oh, man.
Now you have that.
I'm just making the Joker.
Oh, that's freaky. I'm going to roll something here.
A wide grin.
Okay.
Oops.
Which I guess kind of makes sense with Lizard Lady.
We got a 100.
A 100. Wooden
Worth it.
dentures. Like this dude. Like that guy. I might use that art. Oh, man. Mark, are you going to roll? You don't have to. This is optional.
Can I be blue?
You want to be blue? No.
Why not? You said we could choose what color we are.
Because I want you all to survive.
He's
got
Fine.
I like that the dungeon master of this horror show is more invested in our survival than we are.
Wait, I rolled the wrong die.
You could...
Yeah.
What'd you get?
I got 18.
18, so a mark of
18
shame. What does that mean?
That means I'm blue.
If you want to be blue, you can be like one of those.
Okay, no. You ever see the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and the chick ate the gum and she turned blue, and that was her mother's
No, you can be like the Appalachian blue people, where it's just like a bluish tint, almost translucent. Like
all right, my mark of shame is that I was once a garden gnome.
Oh God.
So that's how I dress.
Okay, season and birth of dooming. These I do want you all to roll. So you start by rolling a D100. If we ever play these, and I might use this stuff because I love it. The doomings are. This is the Warhammer thing. Is the dooming.
Wow, funny.
71.
All right. So and also roll a second D100.
Funny enough, it rolled on my actual time of the year that I was born.
Oh wow.
Nice. So I got a 79
I was born in the summer.
and a 70.
79 is winter, and then a 70 in winter is a. This is something that was cast against you like a prophecy, like you turned the corner and a madman rushed at you and pointed a finger and said this at some point. It says, "The depths are crushing, the shallows inviting."
The heathen will cut you down.
That may happen.
And lots of opportunity for that. I got a 71 and then a 21.
So you got autumn, and then the dooming of autumn for 21 is, do not trust what you cannot see. What'd you get, Mark?
I got a 41 and a 56.
41 is summer, and a 56 in summer is the heathen will cut you down. And now
We should be careful around heathens.
everybody roll a D100, and you have a choice here. And you can choose. You roll a D100 once to have a pair given to you, or you can make it random and roll a d100 twice. And this will be the thing that draws you to chaos and the thing that brings you back to order.
I'm gonna roll it twice. That sounds like fun.
All right.
Here we
Ooh,
go.
so we can't just
90 and a 53.
90 and a 53. So you got tyranny is the thing that you love, like the thing that you're drawn to. And then 53 is gravitas, like is the thing that you have that is a tool of order. Which kind of makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
like
this
you're like this
character-
tyrant, but at the same time, like you
You're
can
very
also use
charming.
that. Like you can use it if you need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my character so far is really taking shape. We got Manifest Destiny, medium build, medium stature, slender build. He's got a light tan complexion. I'm getting a very Spanish Inquisition vibe from this guy.
Oh, he'll fit right in then. Mark, what did you get?
What did I get? Oh, I'm supposed to. Okay, 2D 100s. Here we go. I got 71 and 76.
So 1, your vice is arrogance, and 76 is a mystery, which makes sense actually. Like you're an arrogant gnome wizard, but you appreciate the mystery of things. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. What'd you get, Denise?
I rolled a 13 and a 99.
Ooh, you enjoy cruelty. You're drawn to it, and you.
I mean, to be fair, I'm wearing the pelts of the things I'm slaying, so I mean.
Yeah, definitely not people. And then wit is the thing that you have that is good. And then Caleb,
rolled a 96 and an 80.
96 and an 80. 96 vanity. But you appreciate romanticism. And when I think of romanticism, because again, no romance, I think of the historical epoch or the artistic style, romanticist, right? Like you appreciate how we're all just something small against something great, that everything is so beautiful and overwhelming and everything, you know, like a romanticist artist, you know?
Feel that?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Your corruption is currently at 0. We don't have to do a drawback unless you guys want. Actually, no, everybody does have to do a drawback according to this.
All right, here we go.
All right, D100.
Love to hear it. I roll in today.
What'd you get?
94.
94, Tainted Soul. And it says it's not available, but I don't care. I'll give it to you and we'll figure it out.
Nice.
Let me actually look it up. Drawbacks. Professions, skills, trappings. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Drawbacks, page 63. So, Tainted Soul.
You're fine. Why are you meowing, Sammy?
I don't see Tainted Soul in here. I'm sorry. I don't have it in here.
All right.
Oh, it's on 51 or 53 of book here.
Oh, of the big book?
Session 0.
Oh, Tainted Soul? Yeah, it says unavailable in session 0. I don't know. And I'm looking here
Oh.
at them.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
and
Never mind.
They're in alphabetical order for the main text, and it doesn't have it.
They really don't want that.
What did you roll?
I rolled a 90 something.
Let's see, Tainted Soul, 93 to 96. So you would have either had... I don't know that I like this for you. Basically saying you would have lost a limb. You've either lost an eye, which reduces your distance for ranged attacks by -3, or you've lost a hand. And you can't
Keep my
hold
hand.
two-handed weapons. I don't like that. You can forgo that if you want. What'd you get, Steve?
I got a 31.
31 is flip to. Oh, here we go. Fish stories. Wait, is this? Yeah, this is funny. I like this one. Okay, fish stories. You flip to succeed bargain and guile tests. However, you cannot succeed at charm or leadership tests unless confessing a painful truth you previously lied about.
He's a lot of fun opportunity for.
Yeah. So that one
That's
I like.
workable.
Denise, what'd you get?
I got a 13.
Choleric
And that's why I
temperament.
started laughing.
Whenever you deal damage and don't inflict an injury, you gain a corruption, which goes more towards your desire to harm things. That's messed up. That makes
That's
sense.
brutal.
What did you get, Mark?
30.
30, so it's got fish stories again. Yeah, flip to succeed, bargain, and guile tests. That's nice. I like that one. That's really interesting. So, that's fine. Let's see here. Character name. Starting trappings and overage. I think those should be on your on this. It should have. Let's see. Does it not say it here? And you also start with several talents. Like it has stitch by stitch for the what is this? The Perilous. I think what you can pick one of these. I think you can pick one of these. Oh yeah, and then it has starting trappings: an arcane tome, black lotus, which is a poison, 9 candles, medicine, a memento of your dooming when you received it, quicksilver, 3 royal water. So what is the? Just out of curiosity, the blade, sellsword, gesture, pugilist, reeve, sellsword. The sellsword has a brigandine, a Francisca. I got to be honest and say I don't know what a Francisca is.
I think it's a smaller sword. Either the Francisca or the Zweihander are probably going to be your smaller swords.
The Zweihander's two-hander.
Yeah. So that's going to be your like double.
I've got the
throwing
Francisca is a throwing axe that was used by like the Franks. Like so, it's that one. It's almost like a chopping axe where it's designed to have like lots of momentum, kind of like or like Vikings, you know.
You should get a bonus if you shout something in French every time you throw it.
I don't know French, so I'll have to learn
See, the
French.
problem is that she's like she's really good at violence. This is her thing. But the more she succeeds at it, the more she'll slide into chaos because she wants to hurt things, and she enjoys.
Well, I think it said that it's if I don't cause damage.
Right.
So like
it makes you more
injury.
mad. That's what that will. But I'll also give you chaos the more you give into your vice. I'll be like, here, take another chaos point, or you'll roll a chaos dice. Is what
So
happens.
you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
But if you do your virtue, you go the other way, and you like if you defend your allies and you're loyal and you don't let them come to harm and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, out of curiosity, could I perhaps reroll on the Vice?
Yeah.
Because I got the Joker scars going on and I'm missing an eye, and I feel like vanity's just kind of not going to work out for me in life.
Sure. Yeah.
Be very tryhard.
All right,
if you did.
that's a 14.
Vanity. Where's the vice from corruption? The corruption part.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Alignment. That's what we want. And what you got a 14?
Mm-hmm.
Cruelty.
I love to hear it.
Yeah. Okay, so we have an idea of these characters. The last thing we need to do before we go for the night is we need to determine a group concept. Now, I have a couple of options for you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're done with that. And go back up like this and go this way. And move it back this way. So, what I have a couple options here. I wrote this adventure, so what I can do is roll like an adventure hook. You know, like the adventure would have, like, hey, here's some suggestions for how your group would get involved. And then if you don't like it, you could either re-roll or pick something else. Or is there something where you're like, no, I want to do this? What do y'all think? You want to, Mark, you're thinking about a criminal organization. Caleb, you were thinking
Well, that's
about...
what I thought I could choose class. I was thinking, okay, I'll be like a thief or an orc. But I'm like, no, I'm this etherealist. I don't even know what that is. I'm like,
You're a magic user.
Conjurer. Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I'm a different kind of magic user, you see? Because
Yeah.
I'm not using, like, alchemy or anything. I'm using, what is this? Incantation. Yeah, like, what am I supposed to hear? Aegis, conjure elementalist. What does that mean? Like, I can conjure elementals or what?
Let's look.
It means you can conjure people who can conjure elementals.
Yeah, that's what pops into my head. Yeah.
Ah! Conjure elementalist.
You found it? It's under Grimoire. And
No, I was laughing at the idea of that I would conjure an elementalist. And then he can conjure the elemental.
All about delegation.
Let's see. You are a... Let's see. I am curious. I just want to look up that one. I'm going to go to 276.
Come here.
276. There's a skill called Perform Surgery, which is going to be great.
Who wants to be surgeoned?
Let's go.
We don't want to do these. We want Conjure Element, Avoiding, Unfetter, Candlelight, Bewitched. Do you know what type of... We don't know what type of magic it is. Conjure Elementalist. I really want to know what it is. Arcane Magic. Feast of Crows. Gosh darn it. I don't know. It's organized in a way that's really hard to... Because I need to know what school of magic it is. And I don't know what school of magic it is.
Conjuration, I'd assume.
Well, the options are Astromancy, Elementalism. Is it Elementalism?
Elementalism.
Okay, that sort of makes sense. Okay, Elementalism. Morticism. It really does feel like I'm looking at a big spell book, for what that's worth. So that's something, at least. Astromancy. Elementalism. Not in here. It's not... I don't see it. Maybe is it a generalist? Hey, wait. Conjure Elementalism is a thing for etherealists. It's a class spell. That should be on your class. It should be on your thing for an etherealist.
Alright, what page is my class?
Etherealist. Stitch by stitch. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But anyways, what is your group goal, and how do you all want to try it? Do you want me to roll and see like an option for a hook, or do you all want to explore doing one that, like, is there some sort of thing? And remember, this is a city. It's a grimdark, dark fantasy city that is extremely repressed. The people are starving, and something really awful is going to happen in 7 days. And as the time goes by, it's going to get worse and worse. So in the midst of that, what is there, like, something that you want to explore, or do you want to look at one of the hooks?
You mentioned smuggling the mutants. I think looking at hooks would be a good idea, just to like see what our options are. But the smuggling the mutants thing seems like it would make some intuitive sense with the party, because we've got two people who just like can't really attend balls. You know?
Yeah.
There's I think that's going to be they're going to be kind of defining in what we can and cannot pursue.
I agree. So that adventure hook, without rolling for it, is mutant freedom. Not all who are changed become feral. A loved one, or even one of the characters, or someone you know from the area, has become, quote, changed. You have been given contact within someone. You've been given a contact to someone within the underground, one Otwin Gotthard, who is helping to organize the resistance in the nearby ruins of Terathost, to overthrow the convocation on the day they gather, along with an enigmatic figure that works from the shadows. This would be an inherently chaotic thing, too. Like, it would serve chaos. Well, maybe not, right? Like, if you're just trying to help people. But once the mutants turn, they're mutants. It's too late. So there's that, too. What do y'all think? Want to roll another one?
Yeah, let's check it out.
Steve,
I say, what does the rest of the group want to do?
roll a d4, Steve.
And a D4. Do that. I got a 3.
A 3. This is the evil option. The Deep One's slaves. Rathun is the true Great One, the Lord of the Coast, who shall bring about cleansing fire and salvation. To have one pesky demon lord of minor power take over the courts of a coastal town means fewer people to devour, and you, his mere maggot in his service, have a chance to gain his shining countenance.
If he's gonna eat us all anyways, might as well work for the guy.
That's the cultist option. Denise, roll a d4. We're still looking for... Or roll a... Yeah, and then we'll round down.
Sorry, I just got a new dice bag.
Nice.
So now I can't find my D4s. There they are. Okay. 4.
A 4. Okay, so I'm going to roll it down and say that you got a 2. You got a 1 or 2 or a 3 or 4. So, the Merchant Lord's Mercenaries. Representatives of the Dire Rat network from across the devouring sea have seen a windfall in the illicit goods departing to Dammerung's half and more. They have leverage on you. You cannot escape. If you do not find what's disrupting the trade and stop it, he will bring pain to your whole family.
I think that one kind of fits with their characters.
I'll go ahead and read the last one. The last one is the good option, kind of, sort of. Secret agents of the Knights of the Chalice. Exiled from temples thousands of miles away in previous years, several of your number saw their order become tainted by a demonic presence. Many of their number began a pilgrimage to Dammerung to find the descendant of the master of their order in the God Emperor's name, reclaim the honor in the name of Holy Sigmar, and bring retribution to the traitors of chaos. And I think the way that would work, if you did that one, would be you used to be knights, and now all these awful things happened, and you've been scraping by as this, I don't know how the lizard person, I don't know. I don't know about that one, but maybe she wasn't. But then, like, you basically, some kind of Wookiee life debt thing, and now, because there's this whole part of Denise, of your character, where basically the thing that makes you virtuous is that you have to defend them with your life. And we don't know why that is yet, but everyone else could have been a knight and then fallen from grace, and maybe you even moved on, and you're like, this is life now, and then now you've got a glimmer of hope that there's some chance you saw that maybe they still exist, But anyways, those are the 4 hooks I read.
I think I like the first 3 better. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I think the first 3 are kind of, I'm down for whatever.
Yeah. It's like Fish God, Shadowy, mystery figure or merchants.
Yeah, there's smuggling of goods, smuggling of people, and smuggling of the all-consuming abyss.
I'm a little uncomfortable with we are actively going to serve chaos and bring about the consumption of an entire people. There's something, it feels a little icky.
This entire city must be purged, Ross.
That would be the last option. That's the Knights of the Chalice option. They're the ones that would be like, no, we're just gonna like cleanse the city.
They're not good at it. The all-consuming abyss has to be good at purging cities.
Yeah, he's giving them something to do. It's an
Economic
exchange.
imperative. I'm not saying no. I mean, and it would be super creepy. It would definitely be like, how can the deep one, like the Rathun, how would you best serve him, and why are you serving him? I don't know. It's super creepy. I'm not
big incel vibe.
And maybe you don't know. Maybe only one or two of you are the servants of Rathun. Maybe Denise's character just knows that she owes her life, or is choosing to defend these people, her pack, with her life. But maybe her pack are chaos cultists. And why? Actually, I don't know.
Mark, do you have
according
strong
to
feelings?
the story here, it's like they that left everything behind to become an adventurer. So, it could be that the isolation itself is now in, being a sellsword now, and was saved by those people, and then, due to how Atzlands are raised, they've like, here, I'll help you because you helped me.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times, and I can't think of the stories, but definitely Warhammer, dark fantasy type stories, you'll have the servants of the evil people, and they're not actually evil. Like, the servants are trying to do something virtuous. And they don't realize who they're serving, kind of thing,
Ma'am, I just work here.
I'm leaning toward Mark's character as like the mastermind, since he's the etherealist and he's like a chaos adherent or something.
It's a really tough call.
Mark, can you hear us?
Huh? I'm over here.
What do
I
you
missed you
think?
for a second. What are the options again?
The options are kind of, first of all, you can make up something. Some suggested hooks are being a part of a mutant underground that helps smuggle people out of the city, being the slaves of a chaos god that is a greater god than the demon who's doing stuff in
That's
the
the
city.
first one you mentioned. Yeah, I like that one.
You want to be, you all want to be cultists. I just want to make sure I understand.
Yes, I have achieved glorious victory.
This is okay with everyone. Everyone's fine with this.
I'm just thinking, like right at the beginning, it's like, okay, so what are we comfortable with, violent wise? It's like, you know what? Let's destroy an entire city. That sounds good.
Yeah, that's what he was saying earlier. Freedom has a price.
Yeah.
Liberate the people.
I like it. It's good. All right.
Okay, so just to be clear, the premise is there is this elder being. He is this kind of demon. You don't know that, but he's some sort of kind of elder being that you answer to. You might not all answer to him, but next week when we start the session, it will be the people that actually serve him. And so you can decide on this and pick. It would not be Denise's character, because Denise's character actually worships a god who is a good god-ish. Neutral.
And that's where I was thinking of a connection earlier actually, when we were rolling up backgrounds, because it turns out that I'm of the merchant class, and perhaps I could be a merchant. I'm a gnome merchant. Never trust gnome merchants, but I can hire. I need a bodyguard.
Yeah. There is a gnome merchant in this city. Maybe that's you. Also.
All right, I need security, so they could tie the three of us together. Well, yeah, the one could be my security consultant, the other one could be my cult conspirator.
So,
I live to serve the Great Leech.
I want to throw out another option here, real quick, before we go full Chaos God. The Winter King. It says you, blah blah blah. I would imagine the Winter King is actually involved in the Jeratek prophecy. So another option is that you all secretly serve the Winter King. I don't know anything about him, so I'm looking him up right now. Talents, Grimoire, the Etheric Winds.
Turns out to be worse.
It will probably be bad. There are no good options. Even the God Emperor is sort of like the one that we would be. He's at least more human, like more anthropomorphized, but he's pretty awful. Like, there's not like really a. Let's see, I'm looking here.
Really, all the gods just want to eat everyone, and it's sort of a competition.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yesod. The Crouching One, here we go. The Winter King. Far to the north, where the beasts are cruel and the winter's crueler, the Winter King holds court. He is the god of winter, wolf, and battle. His focus on warfare is more bloody and wild than the steward's command of stratagem and organization. There's another faction that's at play behind the scenes here that absolutely is a kind of aspect of the Winter King. This Lord of Ice is worshipped in his form as a large, burly, bearded warrior. He can appear as a large winter wolf if he chooses. The Winter King gives no mercy, favors only the strongest of warriors who choose to die in the cold and do not deserve or accept the protection from it.
I have a question, Ross, then. Just thinking about that, and since I rolled Athlon as the race, where do they fall in place of, like, location-wise? Like, if I'm looking at a map, where would they kind of be? Would they be in colder temperatures? Or are they, like, going to be more warmer temperatures since they're lizards?
Well, I would imagine that you fill in with a foreign god is what happened, because it says that there's this thing like maybe you were a street urchin and you listened to some crazy street side prophet that talked about some god and what he, or something like that, and you gained it. But if I had to pick where your lizard person was from locally, probably the swamps of the Essigurge, which are like several hundred miles to the north. But it is a hot place. Yeah, so I guess just to kind of like frame the option, we've got just like 10, 20 minutes left. Sounds like we're going with the cult thing. I also want to note before we go with Rathun, everyone's in a cult. So like you could also just pick your poison. Like you could do the God Emperor, or you could do the Winter King, or another one of the gods, or something like that. Or it could be this elder being, Rathun. And everyone has an agenda. Everyone has something that they want to accomplish. The Winter King has a representative here, and you don't know that. But they want... Actually, it might be the closest to the version of we just need to purge the city. Like, it might be probably the closest to that of any of the gods.
Freedom has a price.
Bring justice would probably be the goal. Like, if you were to frame it in a virtuous way, the Winter King's goal for the city is to bring justice to the people that are doing things here. The non-virtuous version would be, the chaos version would be purge it all. So somewhere on that scale, that would be the Winter King, I think.
These are the same thing. Both these pictures are the same thing.
Rathun is some kind of elder being and is not one of the gods. But he's open about his desire to simply be fed. And he feels like another being is like taking his hunting ground. And so you would be like bad guys with a good purpose. but with an ultimately worse purpose. You'd save the city to give it an even worse destiny.
Is it even worse though?
Devouring everyone into eternal torment. Yeah, maybe.
I'm
I mean,
thinking
it's
of
pretty eternal tormenting right now.
Yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors. Feed me.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you want to go with Rathun or do you want to go with one of the other? Like, what is your motivation? How you would want to play through a story, like with its theme? You know, so like the Winter King, if you were to put it on an alignment chart of order and chaos, the virtuous thing is we will bring justice to the people that did this. And then the chaotic evil version is just kill it all, destroy it all. This is awful, you know? So, and so my question is, don't worry about the Winter King or Rathun. What is it you all want to explore?
Just trying to think what my own the character that's kind of taken shape for mine is pretty much an Inquisitor. Um,
That would be interesting because the Inquisitors. I wonder if you were a former Inquisitor who left, or what? Because they're called Verstheiners, and they
Okay.
Your characters are definitely not working for the city. Working around the restrictions of the city is part of the gameplay.
Okay. So this character, because he's merchant class. Well, actually, no. That's more character shaping. Me talking out loud it really isn't.
I think we can make any of them work. And the way that we would make it work of attending balls and the convocation and stuff is the way we did it last time, Caleb. You can sponsor lower class people to be your servants. So you have an upper class person and 2 middle class people. So you can, the lower class person, it's like, come my servants and attend me, you know, and that's how that works. What do you think, Mark?
I want to go along with the flow here.
Okay. What do you think, Denise?
I mean, I'm fine with whatever, honestly.
Glory to Rathun it is.
All
Glory
right.
to Rathun.
Well,
So it is.
yeah. And just the reason I'm going with the flow is I really do not understand the setting or system that well. I'm just like, okay, let's see what this has. And yeah, hit your the who's everyone's names? I'm very bad with names.
Well,
I don't have names
Maximum
yet.
over Steve.
let's
His experience and knowledge of the city gives me just naturally inclines me to want to follow his lead, and I want to see. Yeah, he's my tour guide.
One day we may find out what Maximum over Steve's name is, but that day is not today.
so
Well, I'm thinking it's Steve.
let's pause there for a second. That just to look at that. Does anybody have any questions about the setting, the system? What I'm saying about the system is, don't worry about it. Like that's how I'm going to play it. Is I don't know, roll a skill check. If you get under your skill, you're good, and then I'll apply.
Right, but the system gives the setting flavor. It's by the means of the system that you achieve the immersion. And you've already discussed a lot of system-specific things, all these things that we rolled the dice for that shape the character. I mean, and it's a character generation system, even if there's no hard rules to apply to it. It's the whole flavor of everything is guided by the rules.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Do you have any questions about or anybody about the game, the system, the setting, how we're going to run it, that sort of stuff?
Not really.
I know that. So like the key mechanics, and we didn't go over it. The skill check we did go over. The other mechanic is combat. And actually, let me show you guys this. I'm gonna scroll to the bottom. Bam. Actions and combat. Can everybody? Oh, you can't see my screen. Let's see here.
That is an obstacle.
There you go. If you don't have the session 0 document. If you do, it's the page. It's the last page. So, 3 of you have played 5th edition, or well, all of you have played 5th edition actually. The combat is exactly the same as 5th edition, except you have 2 armor classes in a way. You have a mental one and a physical one, and but in combat you're primarily looking at the physical one. And instead of having hit points, you have if I get damaged this much, this will happen. It's called a threshold. So you don't have an existing set of hit points, but if you do 24 damage on a turn, bam, then all of a sudden you instantly are dead. Or if you do 7 points of damage on a turn, it goes into the second threshold instead of the first one, then all of a sudden you are like crippled. Maybe you lost a limb, or maybe you're choking blood or something like that. And I determine that. But just like in 5th edition, you roll to attack. You do that by determining if you hit it all. So you roll a D100 and you want to get under your combat score. You get under that, you hit. So roll to hit. That's how you do that. Once you hit, you roll damage. Your damage is your combat bonus plus a D6. So the first digit of combat plus D6. Let's say you roll a 12. Bam, I rolled a 12. Then I look at the combat threshold of that thing, and I say, can he resist it? You resist it by the first digit of brawn plus your armor. None of you have armor, I don't think. So it'd be the first digit of brawn. I mean, you do. Yeah, sorry, of course. But you have a brigandine, but I don't think anybody else should have armor. I could be wrong, but...
I told you I have a +5 cloak protection.
Do you really?
I heard it.
Or are you messing with me? I can't. I don't know. I've never played this game. But anyway,
You said I could pick whatever equipment seems reasonable. That seems reasonable to me.
And the cloak is blue.
It's on the character the profession thing is what the equipment you have. Anyways, brawn. So if you have a 30 in brawn, it's 3. So if I roll a 12, you subtract 3 from that, you get 9. Okay, so I did 9 damage. I have threshold tracks. So let's say 1 through 6, I put a dot, but you're okay. And now you go down and you're perilled. And then you go further down and further down. Every single time you take damage in a threshold, you go down a threshold. If you go down 2 thresholds, then you go down 2. If you're already down 1 and you take 2, you go down 3. I can show you this on the character. Looks like this. Damage threshold. Where's that? Damage track. Here we go. Damage condition track. Lightly wounded, moderately, seriously, and grievously. Now, I just make this up. So, if you're grievously wounded, what does that mean? Probably you're incapacitated and you're dying. If you're moderately wounded, what does that mean? It probably means if you're injured that you've like lost a finger or something and you're like, your vision is blurry as you're starting to lose blood or something like that. So does this make sense? Basically, just like 5th edition, I roll to see if I hit you and then see if I can overcome your damage threshold. And then you go down this track as it gets worse. That's combat. Now, if you want, you can look at these options. You can do 3 things in a round, just like in 5th edition, an action, bonus action, minor action. You can only attack once. Opportunity attacks, that's a thing. It's just like 5th edition. But you can also do these flavor things if you want. And I'll have this up. How many action points? You have 3 action points. How many does it take to get up? 2. Loading a weapon. Casting magic. Chokehold. You can try to choke somebody. Takes an action. These are stunts. You can try to crack open their shield and destroy it. So these are things you can do. But you don't ever have to look at this if you don't want. You can just say, you can make it up and I'll adjudicate it.
Nice.
Anybody have any questions on the rules or system or the game or anything like that?
Oh, I cast a spell.
Yes, casting a spell. So, let's see here. It's like Dungeon Crawl Classics. So, select a spell. You can't wear heavy armor. It takes an action. usually costs, and then it depends on the level of spell. Let's say that your spells are.
Is it a spell point, spell slot, a die roll, a combination?
You can cast them as many times as you want, but like in Dungeon Crawl Classics, when you cast a spell, you have to do a spell test. So that is your primary attribute, and you let me see here. On success, chaos die. Oh yeah, you can add. I'm trying to find it here. It's a incantation. So it's you do a check, the willpower check, and then depending on how hard the spell is, I move that up or down on you. So all of your spells should be, I would imagine, petty or lesser. So, it'll make it easier. If you fail the check, something bad could happen. You'll roll a 6, and on a 6, you trigger what's called a manifestation. So you could accidentally summon a demon, accidentally summon a portal to hell. You could kill one of your friends.
Accidental my ass, man. That's what I'm trying for.
Yeah, chaos dice. So every time you, and you can add chaos to make sure you succeed on the spell. But the more chaos you add, the more likely you'll bring forth chaos. So.
Can I do the reverse and?
You can try to bring forth chaos. That's just, but you will also move yourself in the direction of corruption. And by the way, and this is something I'm doing over here, like under the hood. As you add corruption as a caster, you can begin to mutate. You could begin to turn into a demon, or start to grow horns, or
turn blue.
You're blue in my heart.
Right.
Da-boo-dee, da-boo-die.
That has become my.
Okay. Any other questions or anything?
You choose aspirations.
The Servants of Rathun, all of you? Not Denise's character, though, because she serves a different god. So the first scene that sets up, you wouldn't see Denise's character. It'd be after that. But is everyone else actively a chaos cultist? Okay. That's where we'll begin next Friday at 6 o'clock.
Beauty.
Boone is like a leech, balancing the humors of the city.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Extracting the poisons.
You're there. You got it.
All right. Now I just need to stab someone with scissors.